All right. It was all good just a week ago because when we last recorded, we were thinking that, the season might be a little different in the way that they approach some of these games. The Warriors, they'd beat some pretty good teams, and then they go on the road and they lose to a Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks, and then they lose to a very young Indiana Pacers team. There were players on that Pacers team that I did not even really know existed.
Still don't know him.
And then they did win one coming back, and then they lost yesterday in Sacramento. So not the best last week for the Warriors. And you know what I realized? I think it was during the Bucks game. I just realized, you know what? You know how the Giants go 81-81 every single year until they don't?
Are you about to say this is going to be one of those years?
The Warriors are going to win in 48 games. Like, that's just where they're going to be at. They're not going to be like a top 2 or top 3 seed and surprise us by winning 55 games. They're going to be in that 5, 6, 7 slot there and win 48 games because there's just too many times where if their stars are off, there's nobody to pick up the slack, which is what I think we wanted to see from Pajemski and Kuminga. And I'm just, of all the people who's picking up the slack, it's like Moses Moody and Will Richard, who are not the ones that you thought of. So that's just kind of what I thought. I was like, 48 wins, here we come. 48 and 34. This is what this team is.
Do you buy into it all of that narrative going around that Adam Silver hates the Warriors and this terrible scheduling at the beginning? Because I think there was a Friedel quote that came out where he was like, for all the fans who like want to say that the sky is falling, like this was a really, I've all my years covering the league, like this was a really weird schedule to start the year. The multiple back-to-backs, these weird 2-game on the road from Milwaukee to Indiana back to, it was just, and then then it's a back-to-back. Like, you put any stock into that? Or
so okay, it's going to even out, right? Like, there's going to be a time in the season where they don't have these back-to-backs because you can only have a maximum, right? So if you're talking to me and you have this old team and they are not injured yet, I would prefer to have them earlier in the season than later in the season when you don't know when these guys are, if they're going to be hurt or not. So, like, the Warriors are at full speed. I guess Jimmy, he tweaked something, so he's questionable. And so you'd rather have them when your team is healthy than into the unknown when you're not sure if they're healthy. So I don't necessarily see why that's a negative unless, and I haven't looked at the schedule, unless the Warriors just have more back-to-backs than everybody else, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't know either. I haven't checked either. I agree with that though. Get these out of the way earlier. But then that's kind of like are they a 48 win team? If you get these out of the way earlier, like, is there still a chance for a 4 seed, or will the 4 seed still be 48 games?
Yes.
I think there's still 4 seed, but I know, like, last podcast, I was like, I think we looked at the next couple weeks of games, and it was Milwaukee, Indiana. Was it Phoenix, Sac, and then what's the next one? Do you know who they play next? I think it was maybe a tougher one again.
Yeah, their next 4 games.
Well, who's the next one?
The Nuggets.
Okay. So when we talked about it last week, I was like 4-1, baby. Like 4-1 looks good here, and you kind of zagged, and you were like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 would be nice. And it was interesting because it was coming off of what looked to be like a really strong opening start from these guys, and you see Milwaukee, and it's like Giannis isn't playing, and then all in the text chats that with Warriors fans, it's like, well, now I'm even more worried than when Giannis was playing because they have no one to quote unquote like get pumped and get up for, to play. And Ryan Rollins cooked them, and kind of a fourth quarter collapse. And then Indiana comes around, and it's similarly a fourth quarter collapse. Like, I think for both Milwaukee and Indiana, they led the game in 3 quarters out of the 4. And I think the collapse was in the fourth quarter for each of those games.
And what team did that look like?
Did that Warriors team looked like the CP3 Warriors.
Oh,
That
I mean, it looked like last year too. Like they play well, and then down the stretch, when Steph is not in the game, and then honestly, Steph
this
did not
was
play
Steph
well.
in the game in
Yeah,
the end.
Steph didn't play well in those games. And who knows? He's dealing with this illness now. It could have started at that point. You don't know. He's not going to make an excuse, but like that is who they were, and this is what Jimmy is supposed to fix. So
yeah, I thought Jimmy's. I actually didn't look at the box, but I remember when I was watching those games, I thought he played like good, doing like the right stuff. There was a couple where it's like on the Indiana game, I think it was, is that he has a drive to the basket and he does the Jimmy thing and passes out of it. I'm like, dude, that was 2 points. That might be the swing of the game right there. But yeah, I honestly like I just I pulled up the stats before we started, just like the overall total plus minus, and I was like, there's no way, like the Al Horford fit just has not looked right yet. And I pull it up. Al Horford, 13 out of 14 in terms of like worst plus minus, and overall he's minus 37. Surprisingly, Will Richard is minus 44, so that obviously shows you like the stat isn't perfect, because Will Richard has felt like a plus in general, like just whenever he's available. But Al minus 37, and that kind of feels on point. Like not necessarily Al's fault, but that Milwaukee game, they killed him down the stretch in the drop coverage. And in the Indiana game, it was a similar thing. I don't know if it was the drop coverage, but they try to do the lineup of Steph, Jimmy, Dre, JK, Al to close the game, and it quickly showed that it wasn't working. So they pulled Al for Pajemski to close the game. Like it would, maybe at the 5-minute mark or the 3-minute mark, like it looked like that was supposed to be the closing lineup, and then they pulled Al because there was a quick run for Indiana. So that hasn't been working as much as I would have thought it would have seamlessly worked. With the Al Draymond pairing, right? Like that just seems like it would be perfect. It's 2 smart basketball players, 2 smart defenders. One can shoot, one can pass the ball. Like it just seems like it would work, and I feel like it has not yet. Even that Phoenix game, it seemed like when you get the Jimmy is not returning notification, and then you start to see them come back into the game in like the fourth quarter. I think or third quarter, like I thought that could end up being a game. And then they do a weird rotation where Steph starts the fourth, then gets pulled out, and then goes back in. And there was a chance that, I felt like that one could have gone the wrong way, and then they end up putting them away. But yeah, in the Sacramento one, right? Like, it's like, okay, throwaway game, no Steph, no Jimmy, no Draymond. But on the Kings side, you're missing Levine, you're missing Sabonis. It's like, wait a second, there's maybe you should win this. And
Russ was just the most excited guy playing the hardest out of everybody.
Yeah, that was a total Russell Westbrook game. Like that had the writing on the wall and everything for Russ. But still, like, okay, Kuminga, you got your money. This is your opportunity to kind of show us. I thought he played really bad. I was not impressed for 1 second.
Warriors Twitter is really on him about that. They're down 3. He gets the
dumb layup that he missed,
gets to the lane, and what he was actually doing is he was anticipating what the defense was going to do rather than reacting to the moment, because he figured he set up the move to set up a fadeaway, but the defender slipped or something, just out of the play completely. So all he had to do was take one step to the bucket, and he would have had a layup or a dunk.
Then he takes the fade.
Because he set it up that way, he takes a fade with nobody guarding him, and he missed.
Yeah.
And he immediately realized it because he went and attacked the offensive rebound. He just didn't get it. He has very much tried to fit into the flow of the offense, but these last few games where they may have needed him most have been his worst ones. And so those of us who were on the, oh man, maybe we don't have to trade this guy, and maybe he's he's the guy who they actually need. If he plays like this, he's exactly who they need. I think people have slowed down on that train because he has just turned the ball over a lot. And the one thing JJ and I were talking about this last night, does he have the worst gather of all time? Like, he gathers and it seems like he loses the ball like 50% of the time.
Yeah.
He has that long gather, and he either it slips out of his hands or they rake it from him.
It's also always a foul, right? It's always a foul.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this is not a let's be mean to JK because I don't think he's at. Yeah, yesterday it was just the opportunity. It's he and Pods together. You guys want it. Now the vets are out, and Steph and Draymond. The next time they have to talk to those guys, they're like, "You had the opportunity. Like this is not easy. This is hard. You want to you want to be the next guy after Steph. Well, when he's not in, you have to play a little bit better. But I mean, there's no the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Um, it's still so early in the season, but they do have a rough up and coming schedule. They play Denver. They're going to get smoked in Denver tomorrow because there's going to be no Steph and possibly no Jimmy. And if there's no Steph and there's no Jimmy, you might as well not even play Draymond. He's going
Yeah.
to be useless. He's going to pick up technicals, and he may even get kicked out of the game. You might as well just bench him too. And then
Bench Al.
And then you have the Pacers, who they really need to kind of get a little bit of a revenge game on. Pacers come to town on Sunday evening, kind of a early evening game. And then you go into Oklahoma City. They've only lost one game all season, and it took kind of a miracle kind of win there for Portland. And then Wemby, and so it's just, the you got to play Wemby back to back. You will get a little bit of a gift with the Pelicans a week from Sunday, but like these next, you've already lost to the Pacers, and then Spurs, Thunder, Nuggets, Spurs. Like, I don't know if they go 500 in that series. That's probably pretty impressive. So it's going to be one of those things where. And this is kind of like what the 49ers did is they got these early wins and now they have a little bit of a cushion. So if they
Yeah.
lose a couple of games, you're like, okay, you're still in good standing. The Warriors or the easy games for the Warriors to win were Milwaukee and Indiana, which would have given them cushion to not have a great week this week. And they went out and lost all of those games. So
I mean,
they don't have
that you're right. Like that is the last year Warriors, but I think the last year Warriors would also come close to winning out, like that back to back in Oklahoma City and San Antonio. It's just like it seems like an impossible feat, and then it's like, oh wait, they actually did it. And then if it was followed by bad teams again, they would lose to the bad teams. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the Niners built the cushion. The Warriors kind of at the start, they looked really good at the start, but I mean, there's some things like I think they have to be like a 4 seed. Like just on what, my eyes told me to start the year is that they look legit. So I think they need to still work on a ton of things within the squad. Work in Al Horford. Think there's, I don't know. I have questions about Kuminga. Like I think there were still moments where you start to remember a little bit of why you see him play so well in the beginning, and then it's like, oh wow, like he's this is exactly what they need, and then you start to see a few bad games, and you start to remember why maybe he got pulled in moments and replaced with some other guys, and that being obvious screen for Steph, and then he gets the ball and he holds it for 3 seconds, right? Like it's supposed to be like this 0.5 basketball where the ball's swinging around. You kind of already thinking ahead of the possession of like you get the ball, you already kind of know what you're doing with it. Like with him, it's kind of like catch 2 to 3 seconds of processing, and then next move, whether it's a pass or a go for your shot. And I think that frustrates them. I saw Steph get a little frustrated on just like a missed, like, dude, I'm going to the corner here, like set me a screen or either give me the ball, and neither happens. So it's definitely something I'm going to continue to keep an eye on. But yeah, I just thought that was a moment for him last night. I thought Schroeder got into his head a little bit too. And then someone pulled the chair on him. I think Schroeder pulled the chair on him, and it was just like he just was about to tumble to the ground. And then, yeah, I am being harder on him than I guess I am Pods, but I expect more from Kuminga, and Pods hasn't gone to Shams and to say like I should be a number one. He has said he wants the Warriors franchise turned over to him, But I didn't take him seriously at all. But maybe that's just
Yeah, I
me.
mean, he's just like a confident young player, but you do put that stuff knowing who you're talking to, and you know where that article's getting posted, and so he did that purposely, right? It was a specific thing. So what I wanted to do, because what you just said about Kuminga, you know who's not doing that, who's not hesitating, and who's being really decisive is Moses Moody. Moses Moody, you were talking about sort of like if the plus minus lies or not. Moses Moody has really solid plus minus, 4 point piece of plus 4.6 per game. The best plus minus on the team per game is Draymond. He's at an 8.6 per game. Then Jimmy's at 6.3. Quentin Post 6.2, and then Moses 4.6. Steph is only at a 2, which tells you how poorly he's played in some of those games. So just looking at the young players. All right, so we are in is this year 3 or 4 with pods?
We're in year 3.
Okay, year 3 with pods. His box score numbers look solid. He's averaging just under 30 minutes a game, 12.6 points off of 47% shooting. He is not shooting the 3 a ton. He actually has almost the same amount of attempts as Al Horford per game at 4.8. And he's shooting 37.2%. I think they'd probably be okay if he was in that 38, 39 range, but 37 is not poor either. He's just not pulling the trigger as much. And he rebounds extremely well for a guard. We know that. So on the surface, in his plus minus, he's 4.2 average per game. So on the surface, Pods is kind of doing what you expect him to do, unless the Warriors need him to take that leap. He is not really taking that leap if you expect him to be the starting 2 guard, right? Because you look at, I guess Klay Thompson got benched in Dallas, but in the Warriors offense, the 2 guard should eat. If you can shoot, you should be eating in this offense because of all the creativity around it and all of the opportunities that you will get. And Pods is just kind of being a version of last year's Pods, I guess. I'm looking at his last year's numbers. Last year's numbers, it's almost exactly the same as last year, almost to a T. So he's basically being the same version of last year, maybe 1 point more per game. Now, does he need to be at 15 points, 16 points a game, where he is shooting the 3 ball a little bit more? I think so, unless unless this is coming from somewhere else, which I think that's the argument for Moses actually taking some of those minutes. But what have you thought about Pods so far?
I mean, yeah, like not overly impressed and not, overly disappointed. It's just the same. I guess when you hear this guy's been working out a lot off in the off season, and then there's some expectations. It's like, okay, let's see. But yeah, like you said, the numbers kind of line up from year to year, and I think that's my expectation. I guess I'm sure there's room for improvement, but like I think he's just, I don't expect him to ever be an all-star in his career. That, like, I have those expectations at Kuminga, right? That's probably why I'm harder on him. But with Pods, I'm just like, can you be a starter in a contending roster at some point in your career? And maybe that's not right now. Can you be a backup point guard right now in on a contending team? So I don't know. That's just my expectations. I think they probably should be higher if they want to be better. There's still Melton coming, and he lost his starting job, right? Like it's post. They've been going post all these games. At least starting in whatever the one before Milwaukee was. But I know he talks a big game, so it's kind of like I should take him at his word. I should just be like, all right, yeah, dude, you want to be you.
In this offense, he should be a 15 points per game scorer. and he's not. Whether it's because he's not taking enough shots, or he's not getting to the rim, or he's not being decisive enough. Like, how many times have we seen Pods with the basketball trying to do 3 or 4 different moves, and then he ends up with a terrible shot? Like, often. That's kind of, he wants those moments, and when given those moments, often he's kind of stuck, and that some of that is because of his athleticism. He's a decent athlete, but he's not a great athlete. So, I think if they are going to take it to that next level, if they are going to be, like you said, like a 4 seed, some of this is him. He needs to take that level of a leap, and he has not done that yet this year. And
Yeah.
we're 9 games in, right? He still has 80% of the season left to go.
And the thing he has over Kuminga and Moody is that he hasn't really gotten buried ever. Like, he's always kind of had the opportunity in the 3 years that he's been here. He's always been in
Steve
the
will
rotation.
yell at him. Steve will yell
Yeah.
at him and be vocal in the media about him, but I think it's because he knows that he can take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's just kind of, he's got to show up. He's got to, I mean, last night was just the perfect opportunity for them to kind of put together this young Warriors player. The starting 5 was all drafted. It was Pods, JK, Moody, Will Richard, Post. Like, that was a homegrown starting 5 right there. And, again, leading for 2 quarters, lose the lead a little bit in the third, kind of have in the game for like half the fourth quarter, and then, the ending. And I guess they're in it for the whole time. But yeah, it's just, I think he needs to step up, and he needs to take over some of these moments, because there's going to be a lot of moments like this. We've already had, this game, a little bit of Phoenix with no Jimmy. But there's going to be opportunities like this a lot, I think, this year, especially. Like you said, they might, tomorrow might even be an opportunity for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look at JK. This year 5 for JK, he is averaging 30.8 minutes a game. His highest ever was 2 years ago. He averaged 26. His scoring is up. He's at 17.2 points a game. His rebounding is considerably up. So if you want to give him a shout out for something, it would be his rebounding. And his
Totally.
assists are also up, which kind of says maybe he is being a little bit more decisive this year with the basketball. His assists are up from 2.2 assists last year, 3.1 this year. His 3-point percentage is also up. He's shooting 41% versus 30% last year. He shot 30% from 3-point land. And so he's always been a pretty good 2-point percentage shooter. He's at 55%. He's been much higher earlier in his career when they just had him in the dunker spot, and he's just dunking
taking less shots.
Stuff. Yeah. His free throw percentage also 82%. So looking at those box score numbers, he's taken advantage of his opportunity. Now, does it translate to to wins? Because what they always say is everybody plays better when you play with Steph. And some of that is true because he's getting these starter minutes, and most of those minutes, or I wouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them are with Steph. So that his numbers should be up. So that looks good. I think it's when, the moments that we see where maybe Steph is struggling, or like yesterday when Steph was out, that's when you kind of want to see what JK can do. And I wonder if he's at this crossroads where he's playing a specific way when he knows Steph and Jimmy are there. And then when the lesser players than Steph and Jimmy are out there with him, and then he needs to kind of take a little bit more of the leadership role. Maybe he's at a crossroads there. I thought they started the game where he was doing that, because I think their first bucket came from he did a hezzy, went right, pulled up, jumper, and I was like, okay, he's going to get into a scoring mode where he's attacking, and then he's either pulling up because they're playing him to drive, or he's going to be able to get by these guys. And I thought he was going to be very aggressive, and he just was not as aggressive as I thought he was going to be. Do we have his box from yesterday? He was 8 of 19 shooting, 9 rebounds, 24 points. So, he was a +2. So it's not like it's not. I think what probably the thing that we're remembering is a lot of those clutch moments where they needed him to do something and he did not hit that shot. But overall, like if you look at those numbers, I think the Warriors would take that, but they would also take winning the game, and they didn't win. So I don't know. I think the ride of JK is going to be very similar to how it's been through his entire career. As long as he's with us, he's going to have high expectations. When he meets those expectations, people are going to say, "See, I told you so. He's got it." And when he doesn't meet those expectations, the other side of the fan base is going to go, "We need to trade this guy. He's a sucker." And that's just kind of been the JK experience. I think you and I have been more pro JK than most. Your brother is like JK's biggest fan. He thinks that he's been calling JK's greatness from day one. So like that's just the ride. And we know that we've been on this ride for the whole time. I would like to see him utilize this good start and continue to play well. And I think the rebounding and the assist numbers being up are key. He cannot stop doing those things because those things are going to help him with everything else, I think.
Yeah, I think when it's going, it looks good. Like in a couple of those games early, it's like the ball's swinging around, the ball's zipping around. He's making the right pass inside the paint. I think it was just, I mean, 8 for 19 is not good, but I know that he's the number one option in that offense, not used to it, so I guess it's understandable in that regard. But he's just gonna have these moments, and at some point it can't be like, well, he's still new to this moment and he's still new to being the 1A. Like, no, this is like a contending roster, there are opportunities to win some of these games that he can, take over, because there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be tomorrow, and there's going to be many others back-to-backs where guys are sitting. And
he's going to have the fresh legs, right? He's the young guy. He wants the opportunity. He's going to get the opportunity. Like Friday, tomorrow, Steph doesn't play. Jimmy may not play. And like I said, you might as well not play Draymond. There's another opportunity for him and Pods and Moody and maybe Will Richard to show off, like, yeah, like I can step up in these moments. But nobody's going to get a bigger responsibility with this fan base than Kuminga. That's just going to be what it is because of the 5 years that we've had him.
Yeah. And I think, the whole Warriors offense, right? Like, I don't know, maybe like it's built for Steph, right? And so I'm almost wondering, like, when he's out, like, do you just go back to what they did in Minnesota, right? Where it's like, all right, Kuminga, just put your head down and get 26. They didn't win a single one of those games, though. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, yeah, no Steph, it's for sure a loss, but I'd be interested to see. I'm interested in watching how he adapts and what he wants to do. Is it put your head down and get your buckets? Is it stay within the offense and maybe more timely shots? I don't know. But yeah,
the best marketability for him is to be able to play on this team really well. Like that will be his marketability. Showing teams that JK can play within the system and excel in the system. And the Warriors system is a very player friendly system. It's movement, it's passing, not a lot of one-on-one, not a lot of pick and roll.
Not a lot of standing around.
Yeah, so if he that would be his best, like, trade value would be to play well here. And then but then if he plays too well, then maybe they decide to keep him, and maybe that might not be what he wants. So this is the life of a young NBA player who is kind of between prospect and all-star. There's a lot of guys in that range.
Do you think Will Richard sees much time in Santa Cruz?
We'll talk about him in a second because I have some thoughts too. All right, Moses Moody. Moses Moody this year, he's averaging 13 points a game. His previous high was last year when he was at 9.8. He is shooting the three ball fantastically well. I don't imagine he will keep up a 51% average here. He's also taking way more threes than he's ever taken in his career. And the interesting thing is his minutes aren't really that up from last year. And I wonder if that's going to change because of how well he's played. He does everything decently well. Like, that is who Moses Moody is. And if the shooting, the 3-point shooting specifically, is all of a sudden something he is excellent at, I think he should get more minutes than the low 20s that he's currently getting. But then you wonder about who they take that away from, who they take those minutes away from. And we'll have this conversation with Will Richard too. Does it take away from Buddy Hield, who's only really playing like, I don't know, is he at like 16 minutes a game right now? Let me see what Buddy is at. Buddy is at 17 minutes a game. GP is at 9. Poor Guy is only getting 6 minutes a game. And then Pat Spencer is actually getting more than Guy. So I don't know where these minutes necessarily are going to come from. I mean, you can take small amounts, but Kerr likes it when Buddy plays, because if Buddy gets hot, the whole team gets hot. And then if Buddy's not hot, then you can kind of tell, and then maybe you pull back on his minutes. But he's such a good player for their morale when he's shooting the lights out. But Moses is basically, if you think of Moses as like a B or a B plus player, he is a half of a grade above that now. Like, he's just really playing good basketball. So what do you do with Moses? Do you give him more minutes? Do you want to see him in more lineups? Or is he playing the perfect version of Moses, and this is kind of how you should play him?
No, give him more minutes, man. He's kind of showing exactly what you want out of like a great 3-and-D player. He's guarding the ball and he's hitting 50% of his threes, although that's not likely to keep up. Like, no, you give that player more minutes. I'm just looking at who you bring down. Like, I think Pat Spencer that was a rough game last night for Pat Spence, man. I just I'm like, what does he? If you can't shoot, then you better do something else at like damn near an elite level, right? And he's like, I don't know. He's not a great finisher at the rim. Like, does he just put together the offense, I guess? So yeah, take away Pat's DMP that guy.
Well, okay, so I think you can DMP Pat if you can play Pajemski for the majority of the point guard minutes when Steph is not there, right? And I think they generally would, but
I mean, yeah, I get that there's a need for ball handlers, and I guess that will change. Pat won't touch the floor if DeAnthony Melton comes back and is like even 70% of what he was last year. So yeah, but there's just other ball handlers that can bring up the ball too,
but maybe that changes when Melton comes back, and then Melton takes all the Pat Spencer minutes.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
No, like that could be the solution to that, because Moses does not handle the basketball well. It's not like you can have him handle it. Like, who else? Like, I guess you do run some point Jimmy when it's him just on the court.
It's a lot of Jimmy, like just in those in that unit, just with the ball at the top, and it's like clock's going down. It's like, okay, well, we already threw the ball around the wing like 5 times, and the ball's in Jimmy's hands at the start, at the top of the key, so he's gonna do something.
All right, now
Jimmy, Steph, JK, Draymond, like these are all ball handlers that could do something. Draymond, of course, more reliant on Steph or Jimmy being there, but you don't need Pat.
All right, young Will Richard. He's playing 16 minutes a game. He's shooting 65% from the field and 50% from 3-point land. Lots of dunks and putbacks for him. Dunks, putbacks, and 3-pointers is essentially what he's shooting. 9.1 points a game in 16 minutes is fantastic. Garbage time. It is fantastic for the specific lineups that they're putting him in. And let's go back to your question. Do you play Will more? Like, does he not? I mean, he probably should play, especially if Seth Curry and Melton are back. He probably will have to go back to Santa Cruz. But like right now, would you rather see Will Richard on the floor, or would you rather see GP, or would you rather see Guy, or would you rather see Pat Spence? Like, Or
Oh,
should they
he's
just
definitely taken those guys out. Like I know that GP's name was in there too. GP's like still, I guess, like a spot. Like, oh, okay, last 5 seconds of a defensive possession in the quarter, or like, okay, Harden's absolutely killing us. Like, we might need GP's situational. GP's situational, but I think Will Richard for, you know, he kind of takes over his minutes when it's not, I guess, situational. I think I think I totally agree. When Buddy's going, this team is going. You know, he showed me something in the playoffs that I feel like I'll always ride with Buddy, and like I want him on the floor because there's going to be opportunities to get him going. Of
Mhm.
course, more when he's playing more, but there are moments where you could say Will Richard should have those minutes too.
Mhm.
Like, so I'm already shooting up. You know, we've shot up through GP2, Pat Spence, Gee. You know, like he's on like the Buddy type of part of the rotation. If Buddy's the sixth or the seventh man, like Will Richards right there too.
Do you think Kerr would trust him in some of these bigger games, though? Because it's one thing to play well against Indiana when you just got a bunch of Will Richards on the other team,
Yeah.
but like, down the stretch in a big game against Denver or something.
Are these not the type of players that he just kind of randomly trusts down the stretch?
I don't know. He's
Like the
athletic.
Will
That's
Richards?
for sure.
He's just the guys who, know what it takes to win. Like he won a national championship doing the right, doing all the things that Kerr likes. Like that's just a guy who we just will give minutes to and probably close games with that make us like confused at the moment. But with Will, like I've been quite impressed.
Yeah, and I just wonder if Kerr's gonna have to make a choice. When Melton and Seth Curry come back, is Gary Payton playable? Um,
Situational.
okay, but then you're carrying 14 guys on your bench.
Yeah. I mean, when Seth is there, that's the 15th spot. They haven't signed him yet.
Yeah. So then Will's gonna have to be on Team Santa Cruz for a lot of that as a
Yeah,
two-way.
probably.
Actually, he's not a two-way. He's actually on
He
their
has a
roster.
roster spot. Yeah, I haven't seen
So
any. Who is a two-way?
is Tui a two-way, or Tui has a roster spot too?
No, I think he's a two-way.
Okay.
Jackson
Yeah,
Rowe two-way. I
yeah.
forget who I don't even know if they have a third.
I remember
Pat Spence have a spot?
yeah, I think so. Opening night when they brought everyone out in the introductions, there were a couple guys who I was like, "Oh, okay, those guys must be two ways because I don't recognize them." Um, so there's our,
No, Pat
there's your
Spence is on the two-way. So Pat Spence is the third two-way.
okay, that makes sense. All right, so there's our conversation about these young players, and the NBA Cup, or the Emirates NBA Cup, or whatever you want to call it, starts tomorrow for the Warriors. They have never really seemed to be all that invested in winning this thing.
They win a
Uh,
couple games though. Like
yeah,
that. Did they even go to Vegas against Houston, or was that to go to Vegas? Like that
I
was
think
like
it was two to go to Vegas. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, they are currently. We gave the schedule. Let me pull up the standings here. Not that standings matter all that much at this point, but they are 5-4. And there is a possibility, I hope not, I hope it doesn't happen, but there is a possibility where, they may be under
Under 500.
500 for a little while. But you look at some of the other teams, the Timberwolves are right at 500, Clippers are under 500. Um, the Grizzlies are under 500. Grizzlies are 3-6. Whoa, the Dallas Mavericks 2-6. Those are some
Yeah.
bad times. So, there are some teams who are kind of underperforming, and I wouldn't consider the Warriors underperforming necessarily, except for those two games on the road, the back-to-back, like you said. They have an excuse for whatever reason if they want to use it. But so I just they are 48 wins until they show me differently. That's what I'm running with.
I think we're both on the same page. Sky isn't falling, but I think I'm more optimistic than you are about this team down the line, because I think they really do believe they're contenders, and I think they surely have realized or recognized that you don't want to be on the bottom half of a playoff bracket if you want a good chance at winning this thing. Like against Sacramento that one year. They were the 6th seed, and then they go on to play LA in the second round. But then last year they were the 7th seed. Like, it pays to be the higher seed to get that home court advantage to, so you're not like sprinting at the end of the year and like out of breath, tired. Like, you want to be able to like coast a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I don't know if they have the roster to be able to coast. It just kind of depends on the health status of these guys. But I think I'm betting on it's. I mean, it's hard to bet on health. It's like a flip of the coin sometimes. Like, you can't really guess unless a player's like injury prone. But we have some, maybe Jimmy 65 games, Steph hopefully like 65 at the least for all these guys. So yeah, I think I'm just betting on. I think they're going to be a 4 seed. That would be my guess.